Hello everybody, this is Alex Nogales, President and CEO of the National Hispanic Media Coalition. Today we're going to be talking about hate radio and hate television. Several years ago, a DJ by the name of Jeff Katz got on the air and told his listeners that they should go down to the border and run over all those Mexicans that were trying to get into the country illegally. He told them that for every Mexican they ran over, they would get a sombrero ticket, and that they should take that ticket down to their nearest Taco Bell and they would have it redeemed for their favorite drink and also for their favorite meal. A little bit later, Don and Mike, syndicated in about 60 markets today, called El Cenizo, Texas. El Cenizo, Texas had decided that because the majority of the population there, 99.9% of the population, spoke only Spanish, that they would in fact run their city business in Spanish. They took, Don and Mike, great affront to this, called over there and talked to a woman who they didn't tell they were calling and that she was on the air. And they proceeded to tell her all kinds of stupid things, such as, why don't you go back to Mexico in a burro, and how do you say eat me in Spanish, things along these lines, very degrading, very demeaning, and meant to offend, meant to insult. Earlier this year, the Jersey guys, two DJs from New Jersey, had a segment called La Cucagacha, a play on the word cucaracha, meaning cockroach. The object of the segment was to turn in illegal immigrants. That was supposed to be funny, and they milked it for everything that it was worth. You all heard about Don Imus and his slur against some beautiful African-American basketball players. A week later, the Doghouse TV and JV and Elvis aired a 6-minute segment of their prank call to a Chinese restaurant where they demeaned and insulted the employees of the restaurant, women along with gays. But Latinos are the favorite target of the moment. We even have syndicated Michael Savage calling NCLR, the National Council of La Raza, one of our premier Latino civil rights organizations, the Ku Klux Klan of the Latino community. And in television, well, on television, we have the infamous Dobbs, Lou Dobbs, getting on his program day in and day out and blaming everything wrong with this country on the undocumented. And if he doesn't do it, the racist and bigoted guests that he has on a regular basis do it for him. This has to stop. And why does this have to stop? Well, it has to stop simply because of the fact that it is turning neighbor against neighbor, American against American. The National Hispanic Media Coalition has engaged the services of a former FCC commissioner, a lawyer by training, formidable individual, Gloria Tristani. And she, with her efforts, has taken us to Congressperson Markey as well as Dingle. We have asked them to send a letter to the National Telecommunications and Information Administration so that we can have an update on the report that they issued several years ago on the role of communications in hate crimes. Now, needless to say, we want to zero in on radio but also on television because it is both that is creating a terrible problem for us. Now, Lou Dobbs is with CNN, as you know, and shame on them that they don't keep a rein on him, that they allow him to editorialize day in, day out, without having someone there to discuss the situation and to counter his arguments. Shame on them for allowing this to go on. This is demagoguery at its worst, and because of the fact that it is giving them money in terms of advertising, they continue to do it. Now, what are we going to do about it? Well, there's many different things that we can do. And one of them, of course, is to speak to them, which we will attempt to do. Try to persuade them to see what is reasonable, what is not reasonable. We will go to the advertisers if we will have to. We will go to their parent company, Time Warner, if we have to. But we must get some kind of relief. We need legislative relief because that's the only kind of relief that will turn the tide. I have to tell you that there was something called the Fairness Doctrine a few years ago, and we need a return to something, a version of that Fairness Doctrine. And the reason for that is because what is going on the air is one-sided. It is nasty. It is ugly. There is no one on the set, be it television or radio, to counter the arguments, the ugly arguments of the people that indulge in this kind of programming. Now, there's a big fight right now going on between the liberals and the conservatives over this matter. The conservatives, of course, don't want to return to the Fairness Doctrine, and they don't want to return because their people own the majority of the networks that are programming this kind of hate speech. But they say to the liberals, well, you guys don't want this, or want this, because of the fact that you're getting clobbered by our DJs. But we can't help that. You should have had your own stations as well. Well, I don't know the politics about all this, but I do know one thing. We are the ones that are getting clobbered day in and day out. It's not fair. It's not right. Why do these people do that? Why do these broadcasters continue to do this kind of broadcasting? Because it pays. Because the ratings are there for this kind of programming. There's going to be a minority audience for this, that when you count the many radio stations in a particular area, they get big numbers. And they get big numbers because if there's 100 stations in one location, and there is one station that does this kind of programming, well, guess what? They're going to get the lion's share. And that is exactly what is going on. Now, people that are broadcasting these kinds of, the owners of these organizations that are broadcasting this kind of hate speech, they're doing it for the most crass of reasons. They're doing it because they get higher ratings, which means more dollars. We are getting hurt by this, and it is not fair, and we need to return to something that is very basic to broadcasting, and that is the following. We, the people, own the airwaves. We, the people, demand that broadcast licensees who profit from our airwaves use it responsibly and seek to provide varied points of view. Only then can Americans be part of a meaningful dialogue and together reach consensus on a lot of different issues. That is the American way. The American way that is under jeopardy right now because of the one-sided, negative types of attacks that we're all experiencing. And it's also the American way to fight back, and we will fight back. We will go to these broadcasters. We will try and persuade them to do the right thing. We will go to corporate headquarters if they will not listen to reason and do the same thing. We will go to the courts of law. We will go to our congressional people. We will go everywhere we need to go to stop this. This kind of injustice, this kind of bigotry, of racism has to cease. It is turning, as I said earlier today, neighbor against neighbor, American against American. It is unjust. It is not the American way. So I will ask you for something that I hate to do, but I have to. And that is because we're all in this fight together, black, brown, white, Asian, Pacific American, Native American. We're all in this together. And that is that we must have a more civil, a more just society. So I will ask you for donations. Right below me you will see a box that says donations. I will ask you to contribute what you can. Please do not deprive yourself or your children of the necessities of life. But please, if you can afford it, drop something in that collection box so that in fact we can fight this. And I promise you that we will win. Muchas gracias.